What is up, guys, and welcome back to TorqueTalks. Today, I have with me in the studio / my bedroom, Mr. Shapes himself, Adam Devenport.
What's poppin'? Adam C. Devenport, you know what's good. Everyone peep the Instagram. I just posted today, so you know the deal.
It's always pushing the gram, always pushing the gram. So, Adam, fuck. We've known each other a long time.
I feel like I first met you when we first started hanging out. Like, Torque couldn't have been more than like a year or two old. I feel like.
Oh, definitely. It was definitely super young because I mean we started it in 2011.
Yeah.
And our first shirt release was at Dreadnought 2011 in July. Which was officially nine years ago or 8.
That's nuts, dog. I remember going to TSG 2013 where the couches were all around the floor. That was just iconic. That was amazing.
Dude, that was one of the best gatherings that I've personally thrown.
Yeah, it was definitely unique.
Definitely not the best one I've been to, but like one of the best that I've personally thrown.
It was mad unique. It was just like, it was unique in a way that no gathering has been even now, and it was way before its time. And I was talking to because Ethan's been a part of the Shapes tour. That's what we're all on right now is the Shapes tour. We've been doing this for about a month. We're all across the West Coast for a month, then back on the East Coast in August. So that's what we're doing. But I was talking to Sheb and Ethan, who are both sponsored by Torque, and I was like, you guys don't even understand. Like, this was their first TSG. Like, they've never been to Torque Summer Gathering, and they're sponsored athletes. And I was like, you guys like don't even understand the gravity of the brand that you guys represent, and they're so hype about how I feel like I see the brand very accurately
because you've seen it.
Yeah, because I've seen the development. Yeah,
like,
I've watched it
over time.
Yeah, watched it grow like a child. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, because you've been in it since then. I mean, like, you were around Bailey when we picked him up and he was sponsored. Yep. He was one of the early sponsors.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, you know, he stayed with us right up until he got the opportunity with Red Bull.
Yeah, you guys were the foothold. I mean, you guys, like, put him in that element of you can be sponsored. And then as soon as there was a sponsor that dropped in, like Red Bull, whenever they did that Red Bull event, I was in there too. I was at the Red Bull event trying to get sponsored. Yep. I was throwing down. Like, I've done a lot of Red Bull events with Bailey too. Red Bull's a good brand. He's not working with them. He's still working with them now, but he's not one of their athletes currently.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, he's leaning into the grab thing, which is seeming to work for him.
Yeah, he's killing it, dog. I love Bailey.
But yeah, so with Shapes and this Shapes tour that you're on, let's talk about that some more, because I really loved, like, you know, we started talking the other night and started to get into like what is Shapes and like what is your view for it, like where do you want it to go, sort of thing.
I would love to talk about that.
I would love for you to just sort of riff on like. Because specifically the one thing that you told me was like, I want Shapes to act like Tricking's parent.
Yeah.
You know, and like in the way that like a parent helps to like push the kids in the right direction, but like they still have to like make mistakes and like have to like learn it for themselves, but like, you know, helping to like push that direction so that, you know, the future generations can know more than the parents did.
Exactly. I think that me as a person, I realize that I've become very solidified as an individual, and then realizing my strengths and my weaknesses, and then doing business in a lot of categories, as in solar, Tumbling is Life, ACD Photos, which is like a photography company. I subcontracted out photographers for weddings, cheerleading events, and stuff like that. So I've done a lot of different things, and as I've realized my strengths and weaknesses, I realized one of my strengths, because I've had brothers and sisters and I've had a crazy family, is that I'm very family oriented, and that family is super important. And anybody that I'm around, it seems these days, because I grew up with Jack and Bailey and I was able to share some wisdom. I'm 3-4 years older than them. So I was able to share some wisdom in that way. And the best way to learn is by teaching. So I was teaching in that way, and it helped me as an individual. But then as soon as I've gotten to the Grab gang and introduced to all this culture of community, and then I ended up meeting Sheb, who's with Torque, and then I ended up hanging out with him for a long time. And I got this whole new age of movers, just elite, like, movement artists that I'm able to like divulge my wisdom into, and I really don't even know how much I have to offer until I feel these kids soaking up what I have to say. Right. So as far as Shapes with a brand, I've realized that There's different ways to do a brand. There's ways to do brands like right in front, and you are the brand. The brand is you. And then there's ways that you do it where Torque is a group of people, and you're in the back. You like playing like in the behind the scenes and helping everything run. I like doing that, but I understand that I'm a character, and I understand that like
your character can be associated with your brand.
Exactly,
and that will carry the brand farther.
Exactly. And my character, when we've been on this tour, and I mean, everyone knows this about me that's worked with me, is I'm very team oriented, and I don't want anybody a part of my team that's also not team oriented. Right. So whenever I'm around all these kids and they're just absorbing what I'm saying, and I'm able to kind of get this wisdom that I'm unsure about, like, oh, what do I have to offer these kids? And as soon as I start trying, I realize how much I have to say, and I realize how much they don't know, and how much they have to learn. Because everyone just assumes everyone knows what they know for the most part. But it's been such a crazy opportunity hanging out with these kids and learning because tricking really is tricking like as a sport is only what the people that are in it say it is.
Right.
So
it's something that's ever changing and ever growing based on the current status of how everything is working. Yeah. You know, and so like whatever the culture is taking up, like whatever the most people are sort of leaning into and doing as far as the combos and like the style of the combos, or like the people leaning into power moves, you know, whatever is like the prevalent thing and is accepted by the others is what tends to be the thing that continues. Exactly. And that's how that culture develops and changes. But like if you just go into it, I've talked about this so many times on this podcast, like if you go into tricking with like this idea of, you know, specifically what it is and where you are planning to take it, and like have it like detailed down to the very last bit, you're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to stay around in tricking because you aren't taking the proper the proper influence from the environment and the culture that's changing to adapt and make sure that adaptation that you're making is in line with the way that the community is changing. You know, because like we said, we've been around for, you know, the last
9 years.
8-9 years. And, you know, we've seen so many different, you know, things come and go.
Yeah, definitely.
And the biggest thing that all of them have seemed to have in common is like trying to push this narrative on tricking. Yeah. Now, not every single one. Like there have been some great companies out there that have just fallen apart because of like the people who were originally involved with it had life that came up, and they started leaning into other aspects that, you know, didn't involve tricking and doing all of the things. Like Dreadnought's a great example. Like Dreadnought was a brand that was really for the culture in that sense, and like it really cared, and like it was one of the influences that like made, you know, helped Rudy and I want to really make our thing serious instead of just like, it was originally a school project for him, as some people know, but like seeing those brands that were already in tricking, you know, like Invincible and Epic and Dreadnought at the time, like it was like, oh, this is something that we could do. Yeah. And then when we started to do it,
it's never been practical. Like,
and it still isn't practical in a financial sense, unless you're leaning into not the core like gathering culture. Yeah,
you have to outsource for finances.
Yeah, and so it's like Torque has always tried to stay true to the gathering culture more so than even like the internet tricking culture or you know the flipping culture that's outside of the tricking culture.
Yeah, I think a lot of brands have approached tricking without knowing much about it, or knowing what it has been but not what it is or where it's going. And they've tried to say, all right, this is tricking, we're going to represent this, but then give it 2 months and tricking is different. So that's why the mission statement of Shapes is it's a tricking brand made by trickers for trickers to keep our community connected and updated while maintaining our culture. Not in those exact words, but that's basically what it is. Like, that's why I love For the Culture so much. It's just like it's such a focus on where we came from, and in like as we're doing things, we realize we're doing it for the culture. We're doing it to further establish history in our sport or in our art.
Yes. And not with this like ulterior motive that is just to sort of milk the cow.
Yeah.
You know, like we're raising this cattle, you know, to be like a part of the family and like yield
to kill it one
milk
day.
for a long ass time, not just to slaughter it, you know, for its veal while it's still a baby, you know?
What I like about Shapes, and this is like what I try to explain to everybody, is when I came up with the logo, which took a long time, I had already thought about, I was like, I'm going to start a tricking company that is for the community. It's for the trickers. And I realized that I have a very strong quality of like work distribution. Whenever I was in charge of a solar company and there was like 25 plus sales reps, I had to get some people as like the trainers and some people as like the knockers and some people as like, there were so many different things and so many different roles that I had to segment. And I realized really quickly that I wasn't the best at any of the roles, but I was really good at figuring out who is the best at these roles. So as soon as I realized I wanted to start a brand that represents trickers, and just for people to have an outlet, a platform to express themselves, whether professionally or as an artist or anything, I just want everyone to know that they can be involved. So like whenever I started Shapes, I was like, I don't know where this is going because I don't know where the sport is going, like specifically. So I just want a brand that I can represent proudly, that I can find the other people like Sheb, like Ethan, like Richie Manarino, like so like you guys, the Torque, everybody like that's been on the tour. Like these are the people that I want to represent Shapes because these are the people that are in the deep depths of the culture, the people that are on tour, that stopped their life, figured out a way throughout the year to financially afford to go on tour for a month, 2 months, 3 months, strictly for tricking. So I think that Shapes as an entity is something that I hold really close to me. And I was explaining earlier that I'm sort of like a big brother or an uncle or in just a fatherly figure to the younger community. And I'm open to that. And I expressed that verbally, like I articulated to them, like, I am cool with being your mentor. I want to help you with anything that I can help you with. But at the same time, I want everyone that I work with to know that it doesn't matter how old they are. If like Sheb's 18, but he has 18 years of unique experiences with lessons that he learned a completely different way that I learned, or I might not have learned. So I'm always willing to absorb and learn from the people that I work with.
Yeah, no, and you have to be.
Yeah. And everyone needs to know they have something to offer.
Exactly. But like the more different points that you get from people, it's, you know, like you get to fill in all of the walls of the room that make up like what you're actually looking at. Yeah. You know, and it's like we need to do it with everything, you know, when we're looking at like the changing culture that we're involved with tricking, with like the political discourse and like a lot of the like hardline divisive topics that get brought up and like people can't find headway on, you know, things like, you know, abortion or like, you know, immigration things where it's just there's this hard like one side feels this, the other side feels this. But what most people aren't willing to do is to like go talk to the people that they disagree with and get that person to explain it to them in a way that like maybe they can not necessarily agree, but like be like, oh, I understand where you're coming from. It's because, you know, either you're misinformed or you have information that I didn't have or an experience that I didn't have.
I love being the person, like the mediator. I've often, like I grew up as a mediator in my family between several elements of my family. And then I've always been the mediator between friends. And I've realized that like I'm really good at being able to look at both people and be like, you're both wrong.
Right.
And then, but
you're both right.
Yeah.
But you're both wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm really cool with telling people straight. And I feel like in the community, I've taken that role. Anytime there's something going on, something controversial, I always want to have a say. I always want people to know, like, because I mean, on a, it's so hard to talk about it like to yourself, but I have influence in the community, and I know whenever there's something that to go on, I have a responsibility to even something as little as this cap challenge. Like whenever people started doing it, like all the big celebrity martial artists started doing it, it was like a big thing. And I was like, wow, they really did that fast. And I was like, in a way, it'd be weird if like the transporter himself, Jason Statham, didn't do the challenge. Like,
right.
I haven't done it yet either. And I've started to think about the concept of like the responsibility you have, the community, the responsibility you have to the community to participate and like to be involved. That's why.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. That's a great segue because I wanted to talk a little bit about your thoughts about Unleashed as well.
Yeah.
And like I think that's sort of my feeling with events like the Red Bull events and Unleashed and like the various attempts that people have made and UTL. Like Torque has been to every single one of them. And we've given it like Red Bull, we gave them 3 tries and we didn't like the way that they were doing it. So we didn't go to
it's
the one
awesome
in
that
Miami.
whatever direction Torque goes, the community is like pretty behind. Like, because
we're not trying to like push the community or anything. It's more like it's like a group consensus of like where we go next.
Totally.
You know? And so like we go out and we like try and be on the ground floor and like get in touch with it, but like show up and represent, be like, yo, we're here for this.
And I think of that not only as a brand, but as an individual. Like,
yes.
I feel like if I walk into an event and I look around and everyone's not about this, I'll step up and be like, this is whack. And then everyone will be like, okay, word. Like I personify and I feel like I understand the community and the culture. And when I'm in an environment, I'm very aware of the people, and I know, and I've been to all these events all year round, all the time for 9 years, and I'm experiencing these people. I know what it's like for people to be enjoying themselves. I know what it's like for people to be so involved in the event, the event just flies by. And I also know what it's like whenever someone's like, what the hell is going on? Like, and where do we go from here to here?
Like, when is this going to end?
Yeah. But I think that as far as Unleashed, I have a couple of just like Spark Notes, check-ins that I do anytime an event's about to go on. Does the person that is running the event care more about the community and the culture of tricking than they do about their event?
Andrew Court, yes.
Yeah, 100%.
I do not
that's
know
what
his
I'm backing.
business partner, but I will back Andrew Court
that's what I'm
for
saying.
fucking sure.
And he's smart. I think he's smart, and he's obviously mad talented. So he has street cred in my book. He seems like a smart kid. He's always positive and super encouraging to everybody. He cares so much about the community. Right. After the Shapes Live event that happened in Neo, the debut of the Shapes Live concept, which I'm gonna get into that too. He ran up to me and he was just full of joy, like overjoyed.
Oh yeah, no, that kid is just overflowing with happiness.
He was excited to see it go down, and because he's about to host a battle event himself, he was just so happy to see something like that because he's approaching it from a different side of it, and I support it so far. And I approached it a completely different angle of it and just went back to the people and started low. I just want this to be more of an underground thing that people want to be involved in, not necessarily like
and eventually
getting calls and asking to be involved in.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, he's definitely going about it in a completely different way. But I think what he's trying to do is fantastic for tricking. Like it's very similar to what Joe was trying to do.
And again, with Joe, if you ask that question, do you care more about tricking than you do about your martial arts studio? I mean, that's his livelihood, and he's got his kids and stuff. And he was in tricking back in the day and appreciated it in a way that we never will be able to because it was just so OG back then. But again, where's your loyalty towards the community? How long are you going to stick around? Like, I've been broke this whole time. There's only been segments like 3-4 years in my entire tricking career, like the past 9 years, where I was like financially just chilling. So it's always been a journey, but
completely the same. But you know what? I wouldn't trade any of that. I was talking to Steven about this last night. Like, I wouldn't trade any of that for the experiences. Like
100%.
I couldn't miss Neo.
I was talking to somebody.
I've been to every single Neo.
Yeah, same. I've been to every Neo. Yeah,
there's another one. So I was saying that he'd been to every single one.
And my dad's birthday has been on every single Neo. I haven't been to my dad's birthday since I was like 17. I'm 25. It's shitty. Like, and Neo 7 was my dad's 50th birthday. So I called him and stuff, but he knows it's Neo. So.
Yeah, but it's like I was talking about this in my last podcast. It's like, yo, we love our family, but like, there's just something different about the way that being around trickers makes us come alive.
It's like you can
that, like, when we go back from being with trickers, we're inspired to take action and do things and work on our projects versus like like, it's not that I'm uninspired when I leave from my family, but it's like usually just it feels more like I just have to like pick up.
They're not pulling from the same source.
Yeah.
That we're all pulling from. And I think about it like there's obviously the social aspect where you see people making moves and you want to make moves too. But then there's the aspect of we speak the same language. So like if you take like my grandma,
conduit.
Exactly. You know? If like my grandma, for instance, she's full Filipino. And whenever she's around Filipinos, she just feels so in touch with her culture. She just loves it, and she's been taken away from her culture. Her community. She's moved from the Philippines, and she's been here since she was like 19, and she's like 70. So it's nuts to think that she's still so in touch with her culture and where she came from, and she spent over 3 times as much time in America than she has in like there. And that's like what I think about whenever I go into any tricking scene. Like for instance, last night where there was a session is an hour away. We have to drive like 8 hours tonight, like 4 hours tomorrow, just some crazy stuff. So I was like, I don't want to drive an hour to go to this gym, to drive an hour back, to come back here to sleep, to wake up and drive. But I was like, you know what? I mean, and then Renato is the theme. This is his saying. The whole theme of the tour is like, this is a tricking gathering. Like, we came here to trick. And he's from Australia.
That's a pretty good Renato.
Yeah. He's from Australia. So he's like, we came to America to trick. This is a tricking gathering. And I'm like, fine. All right, let's go. So I ended up going there. And as soon as I walk in, 3 kids walk up to me and like, are you Adam Devenport?
Oh, shit.
And I was like, dude, like, I get to actually touch the community. Like, I dapped him up. He did this one kid did cart dub and was working like cart full snappo, and he was like, yo, I follow you on Instagram, like straight up.
Just someone who knew you.
Yeah, he just knew me, and I was like, how long you been following me? He was like, I don't know, like a year, like 8 months, I don't know. I dapped him up, and we just like session, and that's what I feel like. Not only being able to get in touch with the tricking community and know more who the community is, but I have my own community. That's 46.3 as of yesterday. It's 46,300 followers.
Hell yeah, bro.
And it's just like, I haven't been growing a lot, but I don't care. Like my focus is the people that are here right now, wanting to know what I have to say and my input of life and the world and lessons, and that's what I vibe with. So it was worth the hour drive there. That's something
that I respect about you, and we were talking about this the other night. Is like, you can't get embarrassed. Yeah. And like the way that you said it was like so perfect, and has really made me think, and like it's honestly like you gave me a power that I had that I didn't realize, because like I feel that way about myself, where it's like I feel really good about myself, and usually what people say about me can't change that. Yeah. But for some reason there's like something that like I don't do certain behaviors because like
the cool thing,
I'm gonna be embarrassed about it.
Exactly.
Maybe not that they're gonna say something, but like you said it, you were like, no one can say anything to me that is gonna change the way that I feel about myself. Like that person is just a stranger on the street.
Because the only reason that you were ever actually offended is if somebody tells you something and you, even like 4% of you thinks that there's some truth behind it. And then that's your own internal concepts that you need to sit and meditate and think about on your own. But I mean, whenever I was younger, the worst thing was like, you're immature, because I'm mad silly. I've always been mad silly. And then I've had some people that are like older than me, some people my age, like some of my peers that I respected, like, you're kind of just immature. But then I'm like, what is maturity? And I started asking that question at a young age, because that was like something that I really thought like, oh, I might be a little too immature. But then I started realizing the people that are saying this haven't actually sat and asked the question, what is maturity?
Right.
And then I started asking myself that and started thinking like, wait, like, can I not be goofy after a certain age? Or can I not be silly? Can I not be playing? And then I realized there's financial maturity. There's maturity as far as like your loyalty towards your friends, your family. And then there's your loyalty towards your community. And like, I feel like I've matured just by sticking around. Like,
oh yeah, no, for sure. And like, I think that you definitely nailed it, where it's like, you have the maturity to take care of what you need to take care of. Like, you're always the dude who's like, yo, we're about to plan this. Like, okay, we're going to the store. What do we need?
It's mad exciting. I'm just like, yo, let's make a move.
Yeah, but like when you do that, like, you take that maturity, but then you add this like foolish childishness to it. But it's still grounded in like a system of like
proactiveness.
Yeah, and like working towards completing the goal in as short and entertaining a way as possible. Like something Tim Ferriss says is like, a new way of doing something that's different is better if it is more efficient or more fun.
Yeah.
So like there are tons of ways to do something. The only way to like change the way that you're doing something to something different is if the new way is more efficient or more fun. Otherwise, just keep the system that you have.
Yeah, that's so right. And oftentimes to make something more fun is not to change any aspect of what you're doing, just the perspective that you're viewing.
Yeah, the attitude.
Yeah,
and
also behind it.
Also, I feel like your understanding has a huge part to do with something, you know? Because like in tricking in the very beginning, it's a little difficult. But then once you get over that sort of first hump, and you start to like learn enough about the moves that you can understand, oh, these piece together, and like you can start playing with it in your head. That's when you really unlock like getting into the flow state in tricking, because you have enough of the resources and the skill level for the challenge that you're going up against.
You just have more tools to work with.
Exactly.
You have more in your arsenal. You have like more things to default to subconsciously. So like if I'm tricking and I blank, which everyone does, like midair, you just blank. I got some things that my body will just do for me. Like, and there's just like some natural things that you've just done tens and thousands of times that your body's just like, we're just going to finish the combo with this because we've done it and we know we're not going to mess up. It's like that subconscious awareness. And I'm getting to a place now where the beautiful thing about tricking is that it's only involving you and yourself. So it's really good to create an analogy from tricking in every aspect of your life, because the whole life just involves you, yourself, and how you can progress. And I love talking to trickers and teaching trickers using the context of tricking as the common denominator, because it's the same language that we can all...
Right.
And it's the same language that we can all speak, and it's the same language that I derived my lessons. So like people we can understand really easy. So like whenever I'm doing a verbal seminar at an event, like I know exactly who I'm talking to. I know exactly the way your gears work. Like people that are trickers they trick more often in their head than they do in real life. You just physically can't trick as much in real life, but you get obsessed with it. You go home and you're watching it and you're thinking about it. So tricking, like just by definition of what is involved and what time is majority spent, it's very little actual tricking. It's a lot more viewing tricking, coming up with your own perspectives of your journey, where you want to go, the people that you watch and that you derive any of your style or any of your technique from. Like all these things play into it. So if someone's like, what happens whenever you're like old and you can't trick anymore? I'm like, I mean, my physical abilities will start becoming limited, but like tricking is not just physical movement. It's a way that your brain works. It's a way it's a concept. It's a language that you can start to speak in your head, and your tool is just your body. It's just whack.
Exactly. Well, and like I've been like somewhat, injured for the last couple of years, and just haven't really like focused enough on like getting my body healthy to where I want to like go and train, because like I'm 26 now. I've got a job. I've got bills. I've got to make sure that
that like if I pull you from the community.
And I have certain aspects of things where like if I get hurt and I can't go work, that's going to cause a huge issue for my ability to do the things within tricking that I want to do. Yeah. And so I've been more cautious with that. But like you pointed something out to me that like is pretty crazy. It's like I haven't really like shown any of my tricks. You
haven't shown your shapes. That's what I always say whenever I'm doing seminars is I'm like,
show me your shapes.
I'm like, show me your shapes when I'm doing a verbal seminar.
And I love that. Like it's so great.
I want it. Everyone wants
that
it.
That person's shape is going to be slightly different than the person.
Doesn't matter if the trick is 10 out of 10.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And I tell people to be proud of their shapes. So many trickers derive a whack style and bad technique from they just don't want to open up their arms and spread their body as wide as it can go, because they just don't want to be seen.
Right.
They're just they're just timid, and their style develops on them being timid. And they can, if they just unleash their ability to stretch and move and maximize their angles and their shapes, then they'll be so much better. But you just see they're holding back. And like, there's some really cool, really interesting styles that have derived from that. Like Jordan Alexander, for instance, he was in the grass and kind of tricking just in his own head, just by himself for the most part. So he's such a unique specimen of tricker, because he's so like not self-indulged, but like he's only spends time with himself.
He's one of the like authentic backyard.
But he's mad timid too. Like not as like sometimes as a person, like a little bit, he just kind of hesitates, but with his tricking, you can see how he's okay with being mad small and getting coiled up and doing these rolls and doing these intricate movements. But then there's a stage in his tricking that if anybody has followed the journey, which I like to take pride that I'm the first tricker that Jordan Alexander's ever met. He walked into unrestricted 2.5 or 2 or something like that, and he had like a broken hand. He's just like 12, 13, 14, I don't know.
He said it's the one where Scott broke his neck. So I was also there, but I don't remember meeting him.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I just dapped him up. I was like, I was like, hey, I'm Adam. So I've watched his journey from like day one. And there's a place where his personality, and I've went through this transformation as well, where you come up with you come across certain revelations in your life that reflect in your tricking. And if you're not tricking the whole time, then it's really hard to see like how your life lessons are affecting your tricking, or tricking is affecting your life lessons. And I watched Jordan just fly. He just got to a place where he understood the small movement so well, and then he just maximized and made him mad big and started jumping on a spring floor, and then moved here. So now I'm excited to watch his journey still. Yeah. And even as a person now, he's just so rooted in his uniqueness, and that's just one of the coolest. Shout out Jordan Alexander.
Yeah, dude. He has just leveled
one of my favorite trickers
since he got out here.
Yeah.
It's been so great having him in the Torque house and, bringing him onto the team. And, like, I'm so fucking pumped to, see where this new team...
And Ethan's coming here now?
Yeah,
that's
Ethan's
going
to be here in August.
That's nuts.
And so, like, the content, I'm super pumped.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to be making a bunch of really dope shit.
And Ethan... The last day he was here hanging out with us before he had to go home, this is the last thing he's going to be on. Hopefully he comes to Loop Kicks, but he might not. He spent the entire day editing. Like, bro, go home and edit. Like, hang out with us in the last, literally 14 hours straight that we had together.
He had the itch, and he asked Scott and I, he was like, yo, should I do this? Or, like, should I, like, put this off until I get back home? And I was like, bro, I swear, if you have the feeling inside you that, like, this is what you want to do, don't shy away from that in the slightest, because what you're about to create, if you lean into that feeling of like doing what you want, that's like when you get to start like stepping into the real creative process and making something.
Being a part of the creative process and having the creative process a part of my life for almost a decade, actually over a decade now, but like in specifically tricking 9 years. I'm about to hit my 10 year in 2020. But
same, dude. Wait. What month did you start?
I don't know. I remember the session like that. Someone's like, "Yeah, this was tricking."
April 2010 is when I started.
That's dope.
That's like my official first tricking session.
That's cool.
Before then, I did like a little parkour, and like I'd known about tricking before.
I could probably backlog and figure out the exact day. But what was I saying? Coming up on 10 years. Being a part of the creative process for almost 10 years now, I've learned a lot of things, and wanting to get a project done and coming up with the idea of a project is super exciting and super fun, but enthusiasm and excitement are a wave, and if you have that itch to create, then like what you were saying, like just start riding that already existing wave of momentum of enthusiasm and excitement, and just ride it until you can't. And then then at that point in time, it's just how advantageous you are as a person.
Are you going to keep paddling back out and looking for the next wave, even though it's flat?
Exactly. Yeah.
And like,
it's hard.
if you keep paddling out and keep looking for that creativity, it's going to come more and more.
I love the philosophy that social media has taught me. And lately, especially this tour and slightly before this tour, I was still dropping like a post a day, but like I've gone 3-4 days without posting on Instagram during this tour. And there's a psychology behind it of keeping certain experiences to the experiences. Like there's so many things.
That's my biggest problem with social media is I want to keep most of my experiences. Like back in 2011 and 12, I used to post on Instagram constantly all the time. And I found myself going out of my way to capture moments, and I would spend more time living through the lens and like through the screen of the camera.
Yeah, totally.
And I got to this point where it was like, I need to appreciate where I'm going and what I'm actually doing. And like when you go to the Grand Canyon and you stand there and take it in for the first time, it's like,
which I'm about to do
without a camera or anything, just with your eyes looking at it. It's like, for me, it was something that was like really special, like without some good words to explain like how it felt.
You can't. There's certain things that cameras haven't captured yet or can't capture yet.
But if you, like you said, if you just like lean into that, like the experience for the experience, like I have a more vivid memory of that first moment standing beside Rudy in the dark as we watched the sunrise and the first rays of light like elucidate how deep and vast the fucking Grand Canyon was. Because like it was
shows real life depth.
It was pitch dark before
That's awesome.
The light started coming up. And then once we could start to see it, it was just incredible how fucking big it was. And like that whole thing was carved by just water running and flowing through it. And like, dude, I'm super excited that you get to go.
Yeah, I've never been. I'm really excited to see that. And the salt flats is about to be nuts. But going back to what I was saying, like I've realized having done just capturing it just makes more sense when I was younger. Just get the footage and then you have it for forever instead of like experiencing the moment. Like I always knew that I was sacrificing a part of the moment, but I always thought it was worth it.
We just need to find somebody who their living is through the camera. You know, like they come alive.
Austin Watling.
Yeah. So we hella people. Find more of those people to come along and document the tricking while, you know, we're doing the other things within it. And, you know, like for me, it's conversation and like getting in touch with the trickers and like that's how I'm trying to spread the ideas that I've come to, as well as learning new things from them.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
Like, every time I have a conversation with someone and I put out my ideas, even if that person has never once thought about the things that I'm talking about, they always give me something or ask a question that like
further
makes that makes my what I have to say
I've told
about
you
it
this.
better.
I've told you this. I've told Matt Malone. I've told so many people this, that like if you have a good idea, call me. Because I'm mad creative. Like, especially when I get a new good idea, I get so excited. And I'm like, yo, like, let's hash this out. Let's take this to the billions.
I remember
like,
when
overnight.
we talked about, like, Shapes Mag before it was called Shapes.
Yeah.
You called me one night when I was still, this was like 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah.
And you were just like, yo, I'm trying to do a tricking magazine. And I know that Torque is down for, like, some shit for the culture. And, like...
Yeah. I remember.
Shout out to Renato for bringing for the culture as like a brand and just like a term that we now use all the time as like that's sort of like a lot of brands like public wide. Like we talk about doing shit all the time where it's just like it's like, for the culture.
I get so buzzed with excitement because since we've been a part of this world for 25, 26 years now, we have a comprehension as to like what this world has been as we've been around, depending on how much attention we pay. But then having been a part of the tricking world, which is a lot smaller world, a lot easier to understand than the whole world, obviously, but we've been a part of it. Like I've been a part of the tricking community for 9 years and I'm 25. Like that's a substantial amount of my comprehension of what the world is. So like knowing where tricking's come from and knowing where it's going and more exciting where it is just buzzes me with excitement. Like the fact that Unleashed is being ran by Andrew Court is like gives me like a whole lot more security, and I feel like that has a high potential of being a successful thing, and I really want it to be.
Well, and that circles back around to what I wanted to talk about is like and you touched on it pretty well with like the individual person showing up to an event and like supporting that event
as an individual
like
in the community.
Every person that shows up makes a statement and also gets to influence the future course of tricking.
And even reverse engineering it. And like John Vanek showed up to Neo 7. And like having the support, having the support of him every year, knowing that like he's as far back as the community as I've personally been involved with. Yeah, like as I was coming into the community, he was phasing in and out, like doing what he wanted, but he's still here. There
at the first gathering unofficial gathering that I went to, which was the Roanoke Tricking gathering.
That's lit,
and it was straight up people slept at Rudy's house, and it was like Alex Hunter, John Vanek.
Alex Hunter was
Christian Hubbard, which apparently Christian Hubbard used to go by Mumra because I said Christian Hubbard, and John Vanek was like, who is that? Wait, are you talking about Mumra? And I was like, oh fuck, that's right. That was his nickname.
But yeah, having somebody like that far back in the community, still supporting the community. Most people in the that are newcomers in the community that have been here for like 2-3 years, like don't even know who John Vanek is, and then
which breaks my heart.
Yeah, but then like getting like I'm a big influence in the community, like in the current day and state. Hopefully, I become more so, or however much the community feels like I should have a say. It is what it is. But like having somebody like him come through and give me enthusiasm and excitement and encouragement for doing like being more implemented in the community at that time. He's still making it like he still has an influence and a say. Like just by having an influence and a say with me personally. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that if John Vanek said something, there's an army of elite trickers that would just be like, oh, we need to listen to this.
Oh, for sure. You know, and there's a lot of people that like when they come out of the woodwork and, you know, they put in their 2 cents on the current state of tricking, I listen.
Dude, like how hype would we be if Dan Pitlock just came back and dropped a brand? Like literally, if he did that, I'd be the most hype. If he started throwing events and gatherings and battles and competitions, and it was just Dan Pitlock running it.
Yeah, because he gets it.
Yeah, and he's got great work ethic. Like he's killing it at life, it seems. And then now like I was talking about like. It's an amazing time that we're in currently because of Unleashed about to go down. That's cool to be a part of and like see where that can go. But I was labeling people like, not labeling, but like For the Culture is an amazing thing that's going on right now. Shapes is something that I think is beautiful and that it's going on right now. And then Mike Guthrie himself has a brand. Like there's been so long that we're just like, yo, like we want to do things with Mike. Everyone wants to do things with Mike because Mike's a GOAT. And now he's got Dubsterd. He's got Dubsterd Gathering. It's like first couple days of August or something like that. Yeah. And I have to go there.
No. It's just the first couple days of September.
Yeah. The last days of August.
Yeah. Unleashed is 1st of August.
Yes, you're right. Sorry. These days are blurry. But it's crazy the time that we're living in right now, having Mike Guthrie, the best tricker in my opinion and most people's opinion, and I guess having his brand and having a gathering and being able to be a part of that, even if it happened once and you were able to be there, and then Mike Guthrie gets married, has kids, and goes into retirement, or if that ends up happening, right? Like we're in this right now. Like we're in the deep depths of this. This is the most dynamic community's ever been.
Oh yeah, I made sure to go to the KTG 3 after I found out about it, and it was a great time several years ago. Yeah. So like I definitely recommend going to trick with Mike and those Dubsterd guys.
Yeah, Josh. That Duo Sir was a sick video. Just got released. Yeah. So sick. And then Mike just got a GoPro, which is revolutionary in the tricking community. It's like, all right, the best tricker in the world just got a GoPro and is filming gas content. This is awesome. Like everyone was excited. Getting back on track. So Unleashed, my opinion about it. I'm excited for it. I'm definitely going to be there, and I made sure of that just because I don't know how Shapes is going to be involved. I don't know how everything's going to be involved, but I know that I want to be there because because
we want to show up. And
when I was at Red Bull, when we were at Red Bull, and Aiden Kennedy drove hella far and couldn't battle, like couldn't compete because it wasn't old enough, and then also couldn't even open session. Like all the trickers were just walking around like this shit's whack,
Yeah, no,
like, that's whack, and everyone's just going around knowing.
But we saw it firsthand, and that's what like made our determination. And now we get to go and see. Is this something good? Are they trying their best to make it something good for the community? Yeah. And the other thing is when we go and a bunch of people show up, the more people that show up, if it's really bad, everyone knows and we get to make that wave. Yeah. And if it's really good, we also get to make that wave. And because that's what happens with these gatherings. Like the reason that New Heights got what it was because every year the people that left New Heights made it a point to tell all of their friends and make a public Facebook post and like go out of their way to thank the people involved and like really represent for like, yo, this was an amazing time and you should put your effort into getting to that event in the future if you have the opportunity. Yeah. And people,
when you play the long game at anything in life, you're guaranteed success. Like if you really look at tricking and you're like, all right, like 5 years from now, I want to be making a living off of tricking, and you just put all your focus into that, you'll accomplish it if you're thinking that far ahead. The issue with working in our community and the issues that's slowly being resolved is that the people that were running our community, we're not at a place personally to be running shit.
Right.
And then now we're getting older, and I'm 25, you're 26. We have our brands. We've been working in and out. We've been outsourcing for our own livelihood while maintaining rapport and culture in the community. And we've had like a good balance. So now we're able to handle things. And there's not just you, me. There's all these people that were a part of the community. Like Mike himself. Right, Mike is our age, and he's got his own brand, and he's doing his things, and he's taking a stance against life. And he's like, I'm not doing these damn 9-to-5s. I want to make a career with tricking. And we've had multiple conversations about it. And it's amazing to see where we are as individuals, and cumulatively, which makes up our community, where we're able to go now that we're able to sit down and have a conversation. And like these podcasts, 5 years ago, 6-7 years ago, we wouldn't be doing this.
I started doing these two years ago, but you're right, 5, it wouldn't. But what we were doing is at the gatherings, we were having these conversations. Going ham. Yeah. And so that's exactly what we're talking about right now. This format, I figured it out, and it's thanks to other people finally, letting
showing
me
that
know.
Podcast is a real concept of communication.
Yeah, well, it's the format of like we're looking each other in the eyes, and we're connected, and we're engaged with each other. Before, I was trying to like spread these ideas that take place during these conversations, but I was trying to like force them into coming out. Yeah. And it's because I just didn't understand
instead of just the natural dialogue. So to give some background, we were having a conversation, and you were saying how you kind of went through a Q&A, more like an interview type concept before podcasting, and then now you've realized it's more organic. And after like watching everyone have a conversation, like imagine just being on a fly on the wall during our conversation, it's worth it. Like,
yeah, well, and that's what it started out as for me, is like, I remember being at gatherings way back in the day, and you'd have like some of the older trickers that have been in it for years and years, and they just start talking about stuff, and you just like quietly, sit next to them and start listening. You don't say anything, but you just start listening. And then, it was several years later when, I was having a conversation with someone, and like notice people coming and sitting around my conversation with that person. Yeah. And it was like, oh, that's really cool. Like I remember, and I like still do that, where I like will just like hear people talking about some interesting shit, and you just like go and just like quietly listen without interjecting or interrupting. Yeah. You just like let their flow continue.
I've been in that situation where I'm the one talking, like what you were saying, and then people just start gathering, and I look around and I stand up and I'm like, and I'm like, okay, like I'll talk to all y'all about this. I did a seminar at Woodward, and it was just a how to genuinely promote yourself on social media seminar. And 5 kids showed up, 5 kids that I've been coaching for like the whole week, and they were so receptive to what I was saying. And I was able to just like, I was like, guys, like I'm amped. It's only 5 of you guys. I don't care how many people like that there are. If there's one person that wants to absorb the things that I feel like I have to offer, even if it's that person absorbs 0, just me being able to explain the things that I'm feeling or trying to teach a lesson in a different way than I learned is going to help me have to better solidifying the lessons I've already learned in life, better ways to help me learn the lessons that other people have learned in different ways, different experiences. So I tried to make that. That's how I work with shapes too, is like when I talk that's how I work as an individual. And whenever I figure out a very solid way that I live, I go ahead and duplicate that to my company. Like, that's what I think. So I've always been the kind of person, I mean, I'm Torque janitor since 2013. Like I'm always the kind of person, like as soon as I got here, I realized like, this is a guy's house. Guys live here. Went to the bathroom, saw the bathrooms, like looks like a guy's live here. And I just clean the place. And like, I want people to know that whenever I come around, things are going to be cleaner. It's going to be more organized. Things are going to be more timely. I'm going to help like hold the negative weight of the
group. You want to be a positive force.
Yeah, and anybody that's pulling away from it, I try to help mediate it and stuff. And then as I've gotten people representing Shapes, which is the company that I have a say in, I have a large say in creating, then I let them know, like, hey, if you're going to be a part of my brand with me, not my brand, but if you're going to be a part of our brand, the brand that we're cumulatively representing, like, I'm the kind of person that I make sure that I'm doing this and doing that and helping out. Like, we need to make sure we're helping run this event. And as soon as I get on a call with someone that we're coming to an event, hey, we're doing a Shapes event, like Shapes Live battles at your event, but also any of our guys that's there, if you need anything, just call us. Let us know. We got 4 guys the whole weekend. If you need a pool to carry something, whatever you need to do. So I really like that I'm able to not only learn these lessons of how I should be as a person, but learn to duplicate those methods. And then that creates a legacy. Like, I feel like Shapes, like, some people are calling me Shapes. I'm not Shapes. Like, I'm Adam. I opened up the platform of Shapes for other people to jump onto. Like, Mark Zuckerberg isn't Facebook. Facebook is Facebook. He created it, and and Facebook is a platform where it means everything. It means different things to everybody. And that's what I want Shapes to be. It's just a platform where people can jump in, give their 2 cents, and splash their wisdom in, and then run some ideas. But being able to duplicate and being able to teach, like, how to do something is the next step after being able to learn to do something. Like, there's several steps of learning, and then there's several steps of learning how to teach, and then actual teaching. But then the next is teaching somebody how to teach. So what I've been trying to preach this whole tour is whenever I come across, like, Sheb, Richie, Ethan, these young guys that are super proactive, they're exceedingly good in their field of tricking and normally in other fields of their lives. Yeah,
they're just super talented young kids with a lot of potential.
Yeah, and like, in order to teach them, I hired them as coaches, so I'm teaching them how to teach these kids. But then whenever we're sitting down and we're just chilling, we're talking about, like, Sheb is so excited about having been able to go to Woodward, and we're going to Woodward again for a week in August to coach more kids. Just the fact that, like, these kids, one kid got a scoop full swing cork for the first time. Another kid got his cork for the first time. Like, we're literally building the community with our bare hands. And after, like, teaching him how to teach the skills, like, Sheb's already got the skills, obviously, and his level of comprehension of these skills is outstanding. So he's fine at teaching. But then whenever we're, like, riding back and we're talking about the actual influence that we're making in the community and teaching him why we're teaching the things that we're teaching. And then oftentimes he's teaching me aspects of what we're doing in deeper levels than I've even perceived.
Right, because he has a different outlook.
Yeah, just a different perspective. He's a deep dude too. So, like, he's like, yeah, but you also understand that these kids are going back to this and going back to their communities, and then they're going to be, you know, he's just talking about different tangents that I haven't even expressed, and just being able to communicate that and being willing to teach and him being willing to be taught opens up my ability to be taught and his ability to teach. So we bounce. That's why tricking is amazing, because tricking is consisted of professional learners.
Yeah, it's just one giant conversation. Do you have anything? I think we're about coming up on an hour. Probably a good place to wrap it up, because we got to go prepare to.
Oh yeah, so what we're about to go do is we're about to get in a car, drive to a beautiful place with zero light pollution, look at some of the galaxies, wake up, and drive some more to go to Kyle Hudson's house, which he's an OG. I met him at Neo One, and then
Kyle Hudson's a hero.
Yeah,
one
he's
of the
awesome.
Nicest men in tricking.
literally. And then we're gonna go to the Salt Flats. And we're going to do crazy tricks, crazy footage. You guys know the deal. Adam C. Devenport, pop in. And also, Shapes YouTube will be popping off after the tour.
Yeah, if you haven't seen, go check out Plan Zero's video from the Salt Flats. And also on Vimeo, if you're over 18, go check out JFB's Bear. Does contain nudity, is not safe for work, but it is a masterpiece of tricking.
And it is safe for your soul.
It is.
That is a freeing feeling. You best believe I'm about to be hopping up on that.
Some naked tricks on the Salt Flats. You can get down on that, Adam?
All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for letting me hop on here. I definitely want to do more of these. Yeah, I love Torque. Let's get it.